So I've been a UA manager for this project for like 3 or 4 years. And basically for like the rebranding sort of project, my part was like an owner of the marketing side. So it would be communication with App Agent, with the production team, setting up the testing, evaluating the results, etc. basically.
Okay, great. And then on the App Agent side, I helped the team create put together the creative strategy and the directions that we'll talk about later. And also I oversaw the execution of those creative assets. So let's start by telling us what was the challenge and what was the state of the game when you started working with us.
Yeah, so the game was launched in 2021. We had a first few good months of UA performance, as you do with the golden cohorts, etc. And then I think after that we started to struggle a little bit with the UA performance. So we've done a lot of in-game changes, new features, started to do a lot of live ops, and also prolong the main sort of content of the game because it's quite a story-driven title. So we had to sort of keep making the story on and on. And this was until 2023 when we remade the whole tutorial, which had the biggest impact on the in-game KPIs, but also on the UI performance. So we were able, after this sort of tutorial remake, we were able to sort of scale the UA a little bit to a certain stable point, I would say, and to keep working on the game. However, as the time went by, the game development team got bigger, so the costs were bigger as well. And so we needed to sort of try to scale the UA even more, which we attempted in 2025 at the beginning of this year, but it was a failed attempt. And basically, after that, sort of trying to scale the UA, we were not even able to get back to marketing spend levels that we had before. So this was also very tough. So that's why we were sort of looking at what else can we do, and Rebrand was actually on the table quite a few times, but it never was a priority. So it happened to be priority at the beginning of this year.
Okay, and maybe you could tell us a little bit more how you identified that problem and decided, okay, now is the moment to kind of proceed with the branding.
So we collected a lot of survey data over the years on our existing player base. We knew that there's, many players like the story, and they enjoyed the story. However, we also knew that we didn't really communicate the story as well as we could in creatives, but also within the game, because there were some game design choices that made it harder even for the marketing to communicate this. This story, for example, you can choose out of 8 avatars at the beginning of the game, and you name your avatar, and then all the NPCs within the game communicate with you as the main character. But this also then makes it harder to sort of communicate in marketing a strong, unique character and the story overall. And there were other game design choices that made it harder for us to really sell the story of the game to the core audience. And also, I think it was due to the fact that we knew that we did a lot of in-game features and changes that helped a little bit, but we weren't really able to make any sort of other really big changes within the game that could improve the performance. So rebrand was also something that we thought might help a lot if it works out.
Okay. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that now. I understand that the kind of first step for you was to really set some strict kind of clear KPIs of and to define what success might look for you from this kind of rebranding, right?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we didn't want to do any other game development or use any other game development money for this. We firstly wanted to see if we can sort of make the rebrand on the marketing side, and then maybe we would adjust the game afterwards based on what works best on the market. So we said that this was just a number that we said with our CMO as well, that the IPMs had to be at least 30% higher for us to make conversation about the changes within the game, to adjust to a new story. And also like reducing the CPI, but this was just like a secondary goal. It wasn't the biggest priority. But these were the most important ones that we wanted to achieve.
Okay. And then you decided to engage with maybe some internal support. What led you to that decision, and what was the process in that?
Yeah, so Michael, our CMO, he brought this up in some of the first discussions about the rebrand. I mean, some of the people from the production didn't really support the idea, but I did. I've seen what like some other games were able to do, or what Metacore was able to do with Merge Mission, what Future Play was able to do with Merge Gardens, for example. And I think over time we sort of also influenced the production team to also want to have like an external point of view and fresh ideas outside of the marketing and production to help us do the rebrand. And we were also working on some like rebrand concepts internally, but these were like closer to what the game actually was, and we wanted some like other ideas on what the story could be and how could we communicate it.
Great. So on our side, we actually put into place one of our products, which is the brand game plan. And for those of you who don't know, so that's the kind of structured process of combining market scans, competitor analysis, and audience profiling, deeper audience profiling. And that really gives us kind of some insights about the game and allows us to take kind of some fresh perspective and seek opportunities. And one of the things that we did when we looked at the puzzle adventure was that there was some segments of the audience that were probably not being fully exposed, and one of those was actually a slightly younger female audience than one you had previously been targeting, right? So in total, based on that, we actually put together there were 5 directions tested. I think in App Agent we put together 4, and you chose 2. And that was going to be tested along 3 creative directions that you'd done internally yourself. And so the 2 that were chosen for App Agent, we'll dive into this a little bit more later, what they were about. So that was Cottagecore and Seoul Bookshop. And all the internal and external ideas were all kind of competed on an equal footing in terms of testing, right? So campaign setup and so on. We had a pretty short turnaround. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I think it was 6 weeks.
It was around 6-7 weeks.
Yeah. So 6 weeks from kind of the initial research that we did with all the with the game plan we're talking about, and then the execution of those assets. So it was a pretty tight window. And I think early on we on both sides we decided to kind of implement AI to help with that, with the prototyping, the the ideation, and because we were doing, as well as the video assets, we were also doing ASO assets as well, icons and store assets as well, and this really allowed us to kind of that rapid iteration and cost-effective validation, when we were kind of exploring kind of different multiple branding paths. Now I would like to do, before we look at kind of how that turned out and the results of that, is just show you what Puzzle Adventure looked like before. So we can play that video now.
This is basically like the intro trailer, so there's no gameplay.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'll probably just move on there, but oh, don't have to go there. Okay, and then now we're going to have a look at one of the first creative directions that we developed internally in our page, and it's called Seoul Secrets. And what we really tried to do here was tap into the trend that's obviously going around Korea. Korea is really popular now with the K-pop and the Korean dramas. We thought the kind of visual style of that stuff would really, engage the audience that we're trying to target. Secondly, we wanted to introduce a kind of darker, mysterious side of the game. And lastly, a really strong and relatable female protagonist. I personally really love the hook of this creative with this, you'll see in a minute, which is kind of really visually so satisfying. So I'll play that for you now. By the way, I don't know if she's hiding somewhere at the back. This was developed by, this concept was done by Elia, who's one of our junior. There she is, she's waving her hand. So she did a great job on this. Here we go. Little shout out to my team.
I just bought it! Wait, where did you get that tea? Oops, not here. I think this is just the beginning. Not everything lost wants to be found.
Yeah, so nice there. And one of the challenges we had with this, because actually you weren't changing any of the gameplay, we had to kind of reskin, and we used AI and quite a lot on that to reskin some of the gameplay to kind of help it match the theme. So that was one of the challenges we had. And here you can see kind of the building blocks of some of those creatives that we started with, some of the prototyping, and also some of the ASO stuff as well that we started to put together. I'll move on now to the second one, which is very, very different. This was called Cottagecore Creative Direction, and this was kind of leaning on a trend that we see on TikTok and Instagram called Cottagecore that resonates a lot with that target audience, which is all about kind of these cozy country elements. So this was more of a cozy puzzle style, deliberately a lot brighter. It was more fun, and alongside the puzzle elements, we introduced two new parts, which was a cute sidekick called Maple the Pig, and also a romance element. And I just want to say that the end card from an artistic point of view is a French kiss, so I really love that area.
Who is that? It's time for the love potion. The love potion is ready!
So as you can see, two very different directions we went in with the branding. And now let's go to the results. So, sorry, here are just a few more of those assets that we put together. You can see there the building blocks of that stuff. Now maybe you want to talk a little bit about the kind of how the testing and how that worked.
So I've worked and chatted a lot with Egor from App Agent. I will have to thank him for that after the talk. Because he was really good at like questioning my like expectations and hypotheses with the testing. It was really nice. So we did like a 2-round Facebook test on both platforms. Like first round was also on Android, iOS. Second round as well. We had also custom store listings, fake App Store pages. We used Geek Lab for that, and we basically did campaigns on US only because that was the biggest market for us, and on females only because we knew that that's the core audience that we want to, at the end of the day, get into the game. And the uploading campaigns were more of those were like hybrid ROAS campaigns. These were just to like check how it will perform in like BAU setup that we normally use. And yeah, the budgets as mentioned there, it was like $80 to $250 per ad set. So each creative concept had its own like ad set, and those were all the campaigns were A/B tests. And yeah, I think that's all for the setup.
Cool. So I think we can take a look at the results now. And I think there was a surprising winner internally at Pixel Federation, not at App Agent. So Seoul Bookshop actually delivered a 38% uplift and in IPM uplift and a 20% CPI reduction. So why was that such a surprise to you guys internally?
It was mostly due to the fact that it was very much different from what the game was about. It was different from what our internal concepts were looking like, which I can show you later on the phone if you want. And that was very surprising. And it also sort of, what was even more surprising was that even without changing anything within the game, also like retention numbers, also ROAS in the uploading campaigns was quite good from this concept. So that was the biggest surprise, I would say.
That's great. That's great to hear. And then let's jump into what the kind of collaboration between yourselves and the App Agent bring. What do you think the main thing was?
Sorry, say again.
What was the collaboration between us internally, externally? What was it that you think that we brought to the table?
Yeah, so as you've seen the concepts, they were like wildly different, and that's why we also wanted to bring you guys in. They explored what they were based on like market research, which we haven't done. We just like did surveys on our own players that were within the game for some time, and they explored what the game could possibly look like, how we could adjust the beginning of the game maybe in the story, and what like different concepts can attract the core audience that we had within the game. So yeah, we would definitely like do it again for sure.
So good to hear. What happened next? What was the verdict after that?
Yeah, so sadly the sort of like a strategy for the whole company also had a play in this, and we focused on, as there's mentioned, Train Station 2, which was another title on the way. And we didn't want to, even though we like had the IPM was better as we showed in the numbers, we like thought about it and didn't really want to invest more development costs into the game, as it was already being done for like 4 or 5 years. So yeah, we decided to automate the game or like many parts of the game production. And the marketing costs nowadays are like quite marketing budgets are quite low, and the production team is also being moved to different titles. So
Okay,
that's the end of the adventure for Puzzle Adventure.
well, it was a good one for a while. Okay, and so the takeaways. Jump in here if there's anything that I missed. But I think the first one was that you spent that time to fix the product first before you touched anything else. That's right. I think it was really important to set those kind of clear KPIs right at the beginning. I have to say, with us at App Agent, that really helped us understand what your kind of objectives were. Use AI for prototyping, but not shortcuts. So remember that, as I pointed out earlier there, her human thinking was able to kind of put that concept together, and then we were able to use prototype to accelerate certain parts of that process. So, and then external collaboration obviously adds kind of value, brings new perspectives, maybe some bolder stuff that you were probably hesitant to do internally, right? Is there anything else you would add there?
I would maybe say like set strict KPIs, but also think about the next steps if you meet or do not meet the KPIs. I'm not sure if this was maybe done well on our side internally, and openly to like everyone, that like this is what's gonna happen if we meet the KPIs for sure, and if we don't meet them, this is what's gonna happen. So, but this was maybe something that's on our own shoulders. It had nothing to do with you. So.
Cool. So then I think we go on to the final one, and I think the most important one is that ads can sell a dream beyond gameplay. I think it was really interesting to hear what you were saying, that even though these creators were such a departure from the real game, that they still did drive players staying longer and monetization. So I think it shows that this kind of really deep research into the audiences, understanding the project, these exercises can be really powerful and financially viable as well if done properly. Yeah. So I think we're at the end of time there. So I'd like to thank Martin for all his insights, and I think let's open up some questions, right, Pavel?
Sure, let's get a round of applause for these two. Very interesting, guys. So Martin, first question is, did you face short retention or ROAS drop with the rebranding only on the marketing side?
only on the marketing side. Not really. I mean, the retention, as I mentioned, the remake of the tutorial that helped to raise the day 1 up to day even 28 retention. I think it was quite stable even at the point of rebranding. So we haven't seen a lot of like retention dropping a lot at the time of rebranding, besides the marketing side. But in terms of ROAS, there was definitely some drop, especially after the scaling of the UA at the beginning of the year before the rebranding. After the scale up and then the scale down, we weren't able to get to the previous ROAS levels. So that was the main issue, basically. Yeah. Not sure if I answered right, but we can talk about it more yeah.
Sounds good. And now a question for you, Chris. So you said the rebrand was done with a tight time window. If you were to choose, how much time would you reserve for such a project next time?
It's like how long is a piece of string is the kind of question, because it depends on the reason why we had this tight window was because of the deadlines that they'd set internally that they needed to do this. And that's why we chose AI to do that. Yes, but the important thing to remember is that, yes, AI can accelerate some parts of that stuff, but I think many of the people that have used it so far, there are still challenges with it. And those creators that you see there right now, they didn't come in one click and one thing. So there was a lot of testing that we had to do internally to get to those points. So it's really about, I think what you need to define first is what are your goals and what are what are your objectives and how much time you can spend in order to reach those, like how much financially you can spend to be doing that. And find that balance. I mean, yes, you can do quick and dirty creators quickly if you need to find a quick answer for something. It depends on what is the problem or the question that you're trying to solve, right? And maybe a more quick and dirty test might be able to give you those answers, but there might be, you need to test out 20 different characters to understand which character is working the best to do it. So it's a long question. It depends on what you're trying to solve.
Got it. And then Martin, what do you think you learned about strategy specifically from working with external collaborations like with App Agent?
Yeah, so specifically for Puzzle Adventure, I think it's, as I said, it was a really good idea to bring some external, fresh points of view to this project. And I think it's really important for us with the next projects, especially if they are like games that are story-driven, to make better even game design choices that support the story itself, and also to focus more in marketing, in creatives, on like trying to sort of sell the story, the characters, and the emotions, rather than just focusing on for example, puzzle aspects of the game and trying to sort of market those, even though they worked for a while to some degree, but we never really explored the sort of trying to sell the story way of marketing the game. So.
Gotcha. Well, thank you both so much. That's all the time we have for questions right now.